Now we get to the stuff that matters. How is Jim Knowles going to assemble his defensive staff with the transfer portal opening tomorrow?
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. Welcome to Locked On Vols, your number one spot for Tennessee football news and entertainment. Weekday mornings when you wake up, everydayers could not do this show without you. I am your host, Eric Cain. Appreciate you guys for being here, making us your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning, even if you are waking up, keeping your normal routine here on this holiday. If you're catching this a day later, heading to work, do appreciate you guys for tuning in. Happy New Year. I hope 2026 is everything that you want it to be. Wealth, health and wealth, and happy times, all that and more here in 2026. And here's to hoping Tennessee athletics is a little bit better in 2026. So I should probably do a show on that notion. Maybe I will tomorrow, but still kind of reeling from the Music City Bowl, getting back in to Knoxville on Wednesday around midday, and kind of getting the bearings of what Jim Knowles is going to do for his defensive staff. We're going to talk about that here in segment one. What are some of the directions he should go in position coaching hires and all that? We'll go back and reflect a little bit more on the Music City Bowl, and we'll look back at the Alabama game. That, in my opinion, the Alabama game, I'm going to probably write a story about this at some point in time, even though I don't think anybody's going to really care to read it. But I think the Alabama game changed everything for Tennessee football this year. I'll get into that here coming up in segment number 3. But as we do, portal season, coaching changing season, the condensed timeline from the bowl game to when the portal opens. I want to stress that if you're watching on YouTube as well, you see my dog right over here in the corner, right there. Yeah, there he is, being a good boy. I want to stress that things can be outdated, and I'll do my best to stay as up to date as I possibly can, but especially with today being the holiday, I'm trying to get this in before we have some plans with the family. Just got back into the town. Like, at the time of this recording, an official hire may have been announced, or the news might have broke later after this has been published or before it airs or whatever. So keep in mind, things evolve very quickly in this point in time. So I want to put out there as a disclaimer here before we get going. Real quick, I forgot to do this at the top, and if they're auditing me, that's not very good. Today's episode is presented by the great and awesome people over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the redeem code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. A big shout out to our friends over at Game Time. All right, so what could Jim Knowles do to fill his defensive staff? I don't know if it'll be absolutely finalized, the T's crossed, the I's dotted, but the defensive staff needs to be formed and being pretty close to being finalized for this transfer portal haul. So I'm thinking that, as you move on through yesterday, throughout the evening and into the night, today here on a Thursday, maybe into Friday a little bit, Jim Knowles and Josh Heupel will probably be assembling and trying to finalize this defensive staff. Why the urgency? Well, number one, the bowl season or the bowl game is over, so the 2025 season is officially done. You're moving on. Your focus is now 2026. Number two, you need help across the board, specifically at all three levels on defense. You need a running back probably, and by gosh, you need a quarterback, whether that's a starter, a guy to come in and compete, whatever it is, you've got to get a quarterback as well. So my point is, who wants to sign up to come to Tennessee if you don't know who your position coaches are going to be? That's kind of the big deal. Number one, can I get to the league? Development, my path to the NFL, playing time, all that and more. Number two, NIL. 2026, guys, officially, it's 2026. Call it what it is. It's pay for play. Okay, the NCAA is not formatting it that way, but call it what it is. Again, a show for another day, but it needs to be a true pay for play because we need to quit pretending that it's not. Okay, that's a factor in these guys in the transfer portal. So that's why this staff needs to be finalized. Well, Jim Knowles is the defensive coordinator. Okay, we'll start at the defensive line and work our way back. It appears that Rodney Garner is going to stay here in Knoxville. He worked toward the 2025 season on an expiring contract. He ended up being the lone Tennessee assistant coach that was on an expiring contract after the season was wrapped up. After Kelsey Pope got a new deal, Joey Halsey got a new deal. But it appears that Rodney Garner, who is well-traveled defensive, I say well-traveled, he spent a lot of time in Georgia, Tennessee, and Auburn, here in the SEC, but very, very well-respected defensive lineman that obviously has put in tons of guys into the National Football League. He's done a really great job here at Tennessee. I mean, look at some of the guys that are contributing in the National Football League right now. Byron Young is such a phenomenal story. He's got guys who are going to go into the NFL Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't need to sell you on Rodney Garner. I know the defensive line was a disappointment this year, and I get that. But Rodney Garner is, in my opinion, a must-keep on this staff. And I believe his personality with Jim Knowles' personality, they're going to kind of mesh because I think they're both kind of old school. They're both hard-nosed. They're both, I'm going to coach you hard, I'm going to love you harder. I think those two guys will mesh. Now, maybe they'll butt heads. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. But I think that makes a whole lot of sense. So I think retaining Rodney Garner, which, again, is the expectation that that's going to happen, it is a big, big-time win for the University of Tennessee. So Rodney Garner on the defensive line. What about the other defensive line coach, the Leo coach, an assistant defensive line coach, however you want to phrase it? We'll see. I think a guy that would make a whole lot of sense coming from Penn State that spent time with Jim Knowles would be a guy like Andrew Jackson, Andrew A.J. Jackson. His name's been thrown around there a little bit. He spent 2025 season as the assistant defensive line coach for the Nittany Lions at Penn State. He spent time at Mississippi State as an analyst. He's been a defensive line coach at West Virginia. So he's got a little bit of experience, got experience in this league as well, spending time at Mississippi State. I think Andrew Jackson could be a guy that would either help Rodney Garner, maybe coach the Leos if he's brought in here, maybe be in an analyst role. I think Andrew Jackson's a name to pay attention to that's kind of been floated around there as well. You go to linebacker. Big time question, and again, I'll get to some of the current staff members, and we'll see if they're going to be retained or not here in a moment, because I know a lot of people are probably saying, "What about Chop? What about Chop?" Linebackers is very puzzling to me. Jim Knowles is a linebacker coach. He coached linebackers at Duke, at Ole Miss. He coached linebackers at Oklahoma State. He coached linebackers at Ohio State. To my understanding, in 2025, this was his first year kind of being a walk-around defensive coordinator, not coaching a specific position. Did he like that? Was that comfortable for him? Or does he want to go back to what he did for 20-plus years and coach the linebackers? If Jim Knowles is coaching a position, I would assume that that's going to be the linebackers. If he's not, is he going to retain William Inge, who served as interim defensive coordinator for Tennessee in the bowl game, who's been coaching Tennessee's linebackers the last 2 years, who has recruited well, in my opinion? I think the development aspect of it still needs to be improved on here for Tennessee at the linebacker position. But that's the big question I have. What's he going to do at linebacker? Does Jim Knowles want to coach linebackers himself? Time will tell. Maybe by the time you're hearing this airs, maybe that decision's already been made. Go to the secondary. A name that has been floated around there for quite some time is Anthony Poindexter. Anthony Poindexter coached the safeties at Penn State with Jim Knowles in 2025, and believe he was at Penn State previously for a couple of years under James Franklin. He coached at Purdue from 2017 to 2020. He was the defensive coordinator actually at UConn from 2014 to 2016. He's been talked about as maybe a DC candidate for Louisville, some other jobs as well. I think Virginia Tech maybe as a secondary coach. But Anthony Poindexter has been a name that's been floated around for quite some time in terms of who could coach Tennessee's safeties. Obviously, I think him and Jim Knowles got along pretty well at Penn State this year in Happy Valley. I think Anthony Poindexter would be a name to be on the lookout for as well as a potential secondary coach or safety specifically under Jim Knowles. Jim Knowles has had a longtime analyst, defensive analyst in Brent Zebsky, I believe is how you say his name. Zebetsky. I don't know. I'm probably butchering that. You guys know me in words. He's been his analytic guy, and he's been with him since Oklahoma State in 2021. He went with him to Ohio State, and he went with him to Penn State. So that guy, as an analyst role, an analytical role, I think would make a whole lot of sense. But obviously, he's not a guy that's has a whole lot of experience about being an on-the-field staff member, though he did work with the linebackers at Oklahoma State as well for a couple of years. So those are some names that have kind of been floated around a little bit. The analyst that's been with them for quite some time, Anthony Poindexter, who has a relationship with them from Penn State, would make sense in terms of safety as well. The assistant defensive line coach at Penn State this last year, Andrew A.J. Jackson. Those are some names that have been floating around. We'll see if they materialize. will be interesting as well. Who else besides Rodney Garner would Jim Knowles want to keep? I think William Inge is very, very interesting. Again, a guy that's been a defensive coordinator in his past. He's called plays in his past. Obviously just served as an interim defensive coordinator for Tennessee the month of December. I think he's recruited very, very well. I like the talent that Tennessee has at linebacker in this room right now. Is that enough? I don't know. We will see. What about Willie Martinez? Willie Martinez has coached corners. He's coached safeties. He's coached star. He's called plays in this league as the defensive coordinator. He's been Georgia, Tennessee, UCF. He's been all over the place. We know about Willie Martinez. Would he be on this staff? Could he be in an analyst role? I don't know. I don't know about that right now. Coach Chop, Lavorne Harbin, coached the Leos this year, has helped Rodney out on the defensive line for the last couple of years, even when Mike Eckler was here. Great recruiter. There's a lot of value in Chop. Would he be a guy that would be retained? I think if Knowles brings in a guy like Andrew A.J. Jackson or somebody else to help with the defensive line, I think that would be pretty telling in terms of what Chop's future would mean for Tennessee. Again, at the time of this recording, there's just a lot of unknowns right now. And again, it's a holiday. I'm trying to get this out of the way. Things might have materialized by the time you hear this, but I think those are some names worth monitoring here on Thursday and on into Friday as Tennessee's trying to finalize the defensive staff ahead of the transfer portal opening. Kurt Smith, Kurt Smith, the strength and conditioning coordinator, is also working on an expiring contract that's going to end at the end of the month of January. So a lot of moving parts here. We'll see kind of where we stand this time tomorrow, if anything's been announced, if anything's been official. But the expectation is Tennessee's going to move fast in trying to assemble and trying to finalize. I shouldn't say assemble. That's what Jim Knowles has been doing the last couple of weeks, trying to finalize the defensive staff ahead of the transfer portal opening. When we come back, let's go look back at the Music City Bowl. I know it was tough. I get it. But what went wrong? Give Tennessee's offense some credit in this football game. Gosh, give Tennessee's defense, at least for the first half, some credit. But where did it all go wrong and why? And what should we think about this moving forward? I know I made a lot of you guys angry. My dad tells me, because my dad, for some reason, reads the YouTube comments. I tell him not to. Said, stay out of the comments. He said, well, a lot of times they're funny. Yeah, most of the time they're mean. Made a lot of you guys mad with my comments saying that didn't matter. We'll get into that here in a moment as we continue on here. It's your New Year's Day edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Fridays already feel different during basketball season. FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern Time have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new and something exciting. Boost, bonuses, surprises, easy way to track the weekly special before tip-off and make the move before the window closes. The timing is perfect as well. Right before the games, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to a Friday night basketball without having to overthink it. So before tipping off, check the FanDuel Sportsbook app and see what's dropping during the NBA Happy Hour. Again, that time is 6 to 7:30 Eastern Time, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's with NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Just for a little bit, we're going to go back and look at the Music City Bowl. Post-game shows are some of my favorite because a lot of times it's raw reaction because the action just stopped or it's like an hour after the game's been over. And so I don't have all my thoughts organized or anything. I just kind of get on there and talk, and I hope you guys appreciate a lot of that. But came back, got back from the Music City, sat down, wrote my day after column that I always do, and I kind of broke down some of the big moments in this football game to try to tell the story on what happened and what went wrong. We'll start with how Tennessee started off this football game great. Tennessee's one of the better starting football teams in all college football. Entering the Music City Bowl, Tennessee outscored its opponents in the first quarter 166-52. Entering the Music City Bowl, Illinois, not a good starting football team. Only 55 first quarter points entering the bowl game, scoring more than 7 points in just one game in the first quarter. That was the opener against Western Illinois. All those things were true in Tuesday's game, right? I mean, Tennessee jumped out really quickly. Played some complimentary football, right? Turnover on downs. Defense made the stop on 4th and 7. Tennessee gets the football, marches down the field, and scores on a Joey Aguilar 7-yard touchdown run. And Tennessee did a really, really good job. 11 plays, 67 yards, a quick 7-0 lead. So the start was really good. Complimentary football. Tennessee, a pair of turnover on downs in the first half defensively. Scored a touchdown on that opening possession, but unfortunately, Tennessee just couldn't sustain. Tennessee couldn't build off that. The offense got better in the second half. The defense, unfortunately, got worse in the second half, and we'll continue to talk about that here in a little bit. Didn't win the middle eight. A lot of people, football phrases, a lot of people like to make fun of people like me talk about the middle eight. It's real. Just like people don't want to talk about the phrase complimentary football because Butch Jones said it, but it's legit. It's part of football. And Tennessee failed miserably in the middle eight. Illinois tied the game 7-7 in the second quarter, or in the first quarter. Actually, it was right before the turn of the second quarter. Tennessee gets the football back, goes 3 and out. The Illini, on what was their third offensive possession of the game, they handed the football back to Tennessee on another fourth down stop. So this was 4th and 2. Tennessee had another fourth down stop. It was a Utah pass that Bryce Neeson dang near picked it off. It looked pretty good. And that gave Tennessee the football back at its own 29-yard line. But Tennessee didn't get points out of that because Max Gilbert missed another field goal, a 39-yard field goal, not a chip shot, but a very makeable 39-yard field goal. Tennessee missed that field goal from Max Gilbert, and that was just outside the red zone, and Illinois took over and stole 3 points there before the half. Marched down the field 67 yards, 12 plays, and Tennessee helped with that as well. Talked about this on the postgame show. Very borderline unsportsmanlike call, unnecessary roughness, whatever it was, on Ethan Utley. Again, I don't think I necessarily agree with that, given how the running back and the offensive lineman were still going full speed, and how when he tackled him, it was right on the sideline. It wasn't all the way in the wide area. Nonetheless, that was a 15-yarder. William Wright had a face mask on that drive as well. The Ethan Utley would have set up a 3rd and 5 as well, so Tennessee could have got off the field if they made another stop. But Tennessee helped Illinois march down the football field, score a field goal there before the half. And so Tennessee missed out on a chance to kick a field goal. Illinois got a field goal. Well, Tennessee received the opening kickoff of the second half, 4 plays, punted it away. Illinois also punted it away after a couple of plays. But on the first play of the ensuing possession, what a massive momentum swing. Joey Aguilar steps back to throw. You have Lance Hurd stepping on the foot of guard Sham Umarov, slipping, whiffing. A free rusher off the edge, hits Aguilar from his blind side, slings him around. Aguilar fumbles the football, and they scoop it up, or they jump on the end zone there for a defensive touchdown. That play changed the game. 10-point lead for the Illini, 17-7 there at that point in the football game. Completely changed the game. So that happened 12 seconds outside the middle eight, but I'm going to count it. Tennessee failed miserably in the middle eight in this football game. But hey, give Tennessee credit, specifically the offense. It kept chipping away, all right? 2 occasions in the second half, Tennessee cut the deficit to 3 points prior to that kickoff return that actually gave them the lead there for a brief amount of time. Tennessee scored on its final 2 offensive possessions. 75 yards, 9 plays, made it 17-14 following a 4th and 1 goal line stretch from Deshaun Bishop. That was a good play. Illinois answer right back, scored a touchdown, 41 rushing yards on the drive from quarterback Luke Altmaier. Not good again, 10-point lead at 24-14, but Tennessee answered right back. It was another Deshaun Bishop touchdown. This one was from 5 yards out. And on the drive, Tennessee converted on 3rd and 15. Tennessee converted on 4th and 1. And, let me make sure that was Deshaun Bishop. Yeah, Deshaun Bishop, that was a 12-yard touchdown run, excuse me. Couple of had-to-have-it plays, couple of had-to-have-it moments on that drive, and Tennessee came through. 3rd and long, got it. 4th and 1, got it from Bishop, and Tennessee cut it back to within 24-21. And even the defense, it was not a good second half, but they needed to make a stop. Didn't keep them off the scoreboard, but did trade 7 for 3 to make it 27-24 or 27-21. And it was a great play by Jalen McMurray, who was injured, who was doubtful going into the game on Monday, but gave it a go because it meant something to him, and he wanted to play one more game in a Tennessee uniform. Great pass breakup in the end zone, forced into a field goal, and it was 27-21. The ensuing kickoff, we know about Joakim Dotson. What a play by the freshman, the redshirt freshman. Awesome moment. Tennessee briefly held a 28-27 lead there, and for the first lead since the first quarter. And then, of course, I all of a sudden thought, like, well, how much time is Tennessee going to have to score again after Illinois scored? That's immediately where my mind went. I'm sure that's where your mind went as well. But give Tennessee's offense credit for continuing to chip away, and chip away. Twice down 10 points. Twice came back, cut it within 3, and then finally made a play on special teams to get the lead. But unfortunately, there was no faith, again, that Tennessee was going to hold that lead because it's been that type of year, for the Tennessee defense. Illinois held the football the final 4:58 of game action. David Alano's 29-yard field goal won it at the horn. Tennessee didn't touch the football the final 40 minutes of the game. 11 minutes, 40 seconds. Tennessee's offense never touched the football because remember, they went on that long drive, field goal, kickoff return for a touchdown for Tennessee, and then held the last 4 minutes and 58 seconds of the football game. Tennessee's offense didn't touch the football the final 11 minutes and 40 seconds of the football game. That's wild. But on that game-winning drive for Illinois, I mean, it was a 28-yard rush after the end was washed down, no contain on the second play of the drive, 28-yard rush to get things started. Then another 13-yard run from the running back on 4th and 1. Tennessee's defense just couldn't get off the field, and unfortunately, you just knew that Tennessee wasn't going to win that game, or at least I felt that way, even after Tennessee got that lead. Tennessee was outgained in the second half, 213 yards to 151 yards. Tennessee's rush defense allowed 150 yards in the final 2 quarters. Just not good. Short-staffed defensively, we know this. They were worn out, obviously. Just couldn't quite get it done. And unfortunately, that's just kind of the way the game unfolded for Tennessee in this football game. All right, so that's, again, looking back at the Music City Bowl. Kind of a fitting end to the season, unfortunately. But I'm going to tell you where I think everything changed for Tennessee football this season. It was the Alabama game. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to show my work. We're going to go back and think about everything that was different leading into the Alabama game. That's coming up next right here on your New Year's Day edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. There's nothing like college football season, the tailgates, the packed stadiums, and being right there in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. But actually getting tickets, that part used to be frustrating with the long queues, the logins, and the prices jumping at checkout. That's why Game Time gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and college basketball tickets experiences in just a few taps. I opened the Game Time app to look up some college basketball tickets, but this past football season, I used that as well, and I saw tickets as low as $25 for Tennessee football games. You get to see views from your seat so you know exactly what you're paying for. No surprise fees at checkout. What you pay for is what you're getting. What you see is what you're getting, all right? And they got the most flexible and easiest customer service policy in all of the ticketing industry. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. No surprise fees, no stress at checkout for you when using the Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying the college football tickets and college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's Locked On College for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Hey guys, welcome back into your Thursday Locked On Vols. Really appreciate you for being here, and Happy New Year. My dog is crying in the background. I do apologize. I've got my mom here on the holiday. On the time of this recording, it's New Year's Eve. My wife's at work. My mom's watching the kid. I've got the dog in here. So if you're watching on YouTube, you see that gorgeous dog there in the background. But anyway, it's a fun time. I want to talk about a game that I think changed everything for Tennessee. It's kind of a souring little topic here on New Year's Day, and I do apologize. And I'll get to some looking ahead and some goals and aspirations, what those should be for Tennessee football and Tennessee athletics in the year of 2026. But looking back to this football season, I think everything changed in Alabama. First and foremost, think back. If you're a Tennessee fan, you're a Tennessee baseball fan, Tennessee football fan, you're dialed in. Maybe you're just a Tennessee football fan, you don't really care about Tennessee baseball, or you're a casual baseball fan. Maybe you didn't realize all that was happening leading into kickoff that day. But here's a little backstory. Went down, checked into a hotel in Birmingham, and I'm literally, before we go to Tuscaloosa, it's about an hour away, check into a hotel because it's cheaper rates, and might have been Hoover, I don't know. Anyway, I'm literally checking into the hotel, and I get the notification from The Athletic. about the report of Tony Vitello is emerged as a front runner for the San Francisco Giants managerial position. So I'm on location, going and doing what I love. One of my favorite parts of the job is traveling and covering Tennessee football at different places, seeing different fan bases and experiences. I mean, I love that about my job. I'm so blessed. But in that moment, I'm sitting here thinking, boy, I'm not going to think about football hardly at all over the next couple of days. I still went to the game and covered it, but again, the story from there through the next week, even in the heart of football season, even on the third Saturday in October, was Tony Vitello. What's going on with Tony Vitello? Immediately check into the room, go upstairs, make some phone calls, reach out to Tennessee, reach out to Tony Vitello, get a couple quotes, get a couple updates. I'm like, here's where things stand now. But that's when it was always kind of a possibility. There were some talks about everything. But when the the New York Times, dropped that note, that's when things kind of went into hyperdrive, right? And unfortunately, that's kind of how the day started. So that was the baseball side of things. It had nothing to do with football. But think about this. Going into that football game, Tennessee's defensive line, or Tennessee's defense in general, sure, it was giving up too many points, giving up too many yards, but what Tennessee was doing well, Tennessee was doing at an elite level. Tennessee defensive touchdown score, Tennessee takeaways, one of the nation leader in takeaways. Tennessee going into that game, okay, leading the nation in sacks with 26 sacks. Leading the nation with 26 sacks on the season. You look at where Tennessee stands now at the end of the year. At the end of the year, Tennessee only has 37 sacks. So from the third Saturday in October on, what is that, guys? That's Kentucky, that's Oklahoma, New Mexico State, Florida, Vanderbilt, Illinois. The last 6 games, Tennessee had 11 sacks. The first 6 games leading into that game, Tennessee had 26 sacks. So Tennessee didn't get home in that football game. I feel like that's kind of where things started trending down in terms of attacking and pressuring the quarterback. Let's flip it over to the offensive line. Tennessee's offensive line was one of the SEC leaders. I believe, don't quote me, but I think Tennessee's offensive line had given up only 4 sacks. 4 sacks leading into that football game. Okay? Tennessee gave up on the year 22 sacks. Tennessee gave up 16 sacks in 4 games, and it started with Alabama. Gave up 4 sacks at Alabama, gave up 4 sacks to Oklahoma, gave up 4 sacks to Vanderbilt, gave up 4 sacks to the Illini in the Music City Bowl. 4 times 4, that's 16. 22 minus 16, that is 6 in 4 games. Tennessee gave up 16 sacks. The other 9 games, Tennessee gave up only 6 sacks. How about that? Isn't that wild? That's it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible to think about how things changed so much on both lines of scrimmage from that Alabama game. But it's not just that. You guys know I think Joey Aguilar has outperformed, outplayed, just done a phenomenal job, okay, giving all the circumstances that came into this. Getting here in May, you didn't have any options hardly when Nico bolted for UCLA. Getting here in May, winning over his teammates, winning the job, learning the playbook, everything together, all-encompassing. Joey Aguilar did a really phenomenal job here in 1 year at Tennessee. I mean, again, we talked about enough, led the SEC in passing, all that. You know, the leads Tennessee is like number 3 in total offense in a single season, leads Tennessee in 3rd place in single season passing history. I mean, all that and more, okay? Yeah, Tennessee's 8-5. Where would Tennessee be without Joey Aguilar this year? Tennessee wouldn't go bowling with Jake Merklinger, in my opinion. I don't think George McIntyre was ready to be the starting quarterback at the University of Tennessee. So, yeah, I mean, as bad as you hate this year and as bad as you think this year's disappointing and a failure, think about how bad it could have been. But from that point, I think, is where his turnovers were just dire. Like, Joey Aguilar was always going to throw a couple of interceptions. We knew that coming in. You knew Joey Aguilar was going to turn the football over because that's kind of been his mantra. Well, think about prior to the Alabama game. We can make the case that a lot of those interceptions were not his fault. 2 interceptions off the hands of Miles Kitselman. Yeah, make a better throw. Okay, make a catch. That's my counter to that. Make a catch. Syracuse game, off the hands of Chris Brazzell. It's not his fault. Georgia game, Braylon Staley falls down. It's not his fault. Georgia game, just throws an arm punt on 3rd and 10 into double coverage that literally was an arm punt. Okay, I'm not going to – that's whatever. The UAB game, one was the receiver was interfering like crazy with Brazzell, and then the ball got batted up in the air for 10 seconds. Okay, I mean, like I'm not faulting Aguilar for those. But boy, the two picks in the Oklahoma game, the 2 picks in the New Mexico State game were very similar. The pick 6 right before the half at Alabama, oh my gosh. Tennessee wasn't winning that game, okay? But that one play changed everything. Bad play, okay? The strip sack fumbles, one against Oklahoma, one against Illinois, even though, again, one was David Sanders' fault, one was Lance Hurd's fault. It's a team game, I get all that. Ball security is an issue here. Like, the turnovers from that point on were catastrophic. And it started with the Alabama game. Man, it's wild to me. Tony Vitello thing, defensive line, offensive line, Aguilar's interceptions. Tennessee entered that football game with 1 loss. Tennessee Tennessee ended the season with 5 losses. So counting that Alabama game, 4 more losses. It was tough, man. The 3rd Saturday in October was not kind to the University of Tennessee this year. It just wasn't. And sure, I mean, you beat a really, really bad Kentucky team that actually played pretty well towards the end of the year. You beat a really, really bad Kentucky team. You had a win over Florida, which that was a horrible Florida team, but it was essential to get that win over that Florida team to break the streak of not winning down in the swamp since 2003. You did that. So that's great. But end of the day, Tennessee did not beat an FBS opponent with a winning record. Tennessee's best win, probably Florida, maybe ETSU. Again, it's not been a fun season. I get all that. But the turning point for so many, and I know there's a lot of things I'm missing out here, but the turning point for this season, in my opinion, was the Alabama game. How different things could have been, shoulda, coulda, wouldas, I get all that. But when I think about the 2025 football season, I'm going to think about the 3rd Saturday in October, and I'm going to think about how everything changed from there on out. I know that's a little doom and gloom here on New Year's Day. I apologize, but nonetheless, been a wild and hectic last few days here, traveling from Nashville and covering the game and all that with the holiday and transfer portal opening officially on Friday. Tennessee trying to assemble its defensive staff. We'll see kind of where we stand this time tomorrow. Again, things evolve. Things could be out of date, but those are some of the names that we talked about in segment number 1 that have been thrown around a little bit. We'll see who's retained, who he brings in. I think all that's going to come pretty quickly, towards the end of this week, in my opinion, for Jim Knowles and this defensive staff. Lots going on right now. Football season is over, but we're going to talk tons of basketball coming up, transfer portal. What's more important? All you guys that I offended and saying the Music City Bowl didn't matter, what's more important to you? Winning the transfer portal or beating Illinois, 2 8-4 teams in the Music City Bowl? If you disagree, @_Cainer at Locked On Vols, you know where the comment section is. Please tell me if you disagree. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be upset. I mean, that's, first of all, I'm not here to tell anybody how to fan, but I get the frustrations because it's the same stuff. It's annoying. It's frustrating and all. But again, when you compare to what's the most important thing this week, the Music City Bowl comes in number 3. Number 1, transfer portal. Number 2, defensive staff. Number 3, beating Illinois. If you beat Illinois, it would have been just like Florida. Oh, well, duh. You should have beat Illinois. Illinois is not good. It's Music City Bowl. Who cares? Nobody cares about that game until you lose. And Tennessee lost, and it's expected. Again, this is not surprising. It's again, fan, short for fanatic. That's my key phrase. What say you, fan, short for fanatic? We're going to make T-shirts, Locked On Vols. What say you, fan, short for fanatic? It's just that there's just more important pressing things here. So if I offended anybody by saying that, I do apologize, but facts are facts. Transfer portal, the important thing. Coaching staff, the important thing. Music City Bowl, important. You want to get a win. You want to finish off 25 the right way. It didn't happen. You don't want to make the same mistakes. I get all that. But nobody's losing their job over losing the Music City Bowl. Because, again, we're in an era where your best players have opted out. Okay. And it just is what it is. So, it was a fitting end to the season because, again, what I talked about the other night was just frustrating. All right. That's my thoughts. @_Cainer at Locked On Vols. Please let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for being here. Happy New Year. 2026 is going to be fantastic. We're going to talk a lot about what we expect from Tennessee moving forward in this new year, plus transfer portal, coaching news, all that and more on a Friday Locked On Vols. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, everybody. Stay safe. And here's for wishes of healthy and wealthy times ahead.